And I mentioned sponsors and partners in business because when the word non-essential got created and then pushed to the forefront of who's able to do what, this was a turning point in history. And so in these box stores that are chains and they have partners, it's Joe Biden, the biggest motion of any political, the biggest motion, I think, of any speech I've ever heard in my entire life. He says, if you're unwilling to follow our protocols, don't expect to be getting any funds from the federal government. So if you dovetail and couple it with that into how there's sponsorships, and this came with streaming aside from cable. And so when streaming through satellites, not cable out, all these sponsors of different companies in media, it's the Democrats with their friends in the mainstream media, had all these like Peacock, there's like 30 different streaming corporations that were equal to cable, and so they got pushed. And so when now in sponsorships, you couple that with all the awards that are created nowadays. We live in the Midwestern, and there's like these OPEs. Everyone says OPEs, and I just saw in the paper of what's newsworthy to be in there. There's like these OPEs awards, and so ostensibly there's like, yeah, all these awards. There's all these streamers, companies of streamers, and so when you're funneling out who's what, the circulatory of the economy gets manhandled into these, especially if it's in an emergency. And so they're trying to claim what an emergency is with these unelected institutions that are heavily through what the Pentagon had set forth to create. But it's where the receipts don't lie, and that's where court comes important. In movies, it's always like, in the grounds of standing, it'd be the encompassing of like any legal court video, not the actual one, but the ones used in movies. And it's the ones used in movies. They're one of my favorites as I get older. It's the courts that are being done in movies, and it's so funny because I like dark comedy. I guess a lot of the stuff I say is dark and cryptic, as was said earlier, but it's just you're not supposed to laugh at something that's really bad, but when you're overcoming a lot in life and then you look back at the things that are horrific at the time, I think that's hilarious. So and then being respectful for others, it's like where there's characters and they're witty and cheesy, but then you like them because they are. And so this is, you're every Americano, you want to root for the underdog. So it's these three archetypes. And just to touch upon the first one again, whenever court is being filmed in a movie, it's so like universal because that's as real as it can get, is when a judge is throwing a book at you, giving you life. And then when it's being done in theatrics where everyone's actors, and it's just in a lot of courts nowadays, the most wildest ones, I don't know, Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, where it's like propagandized court. And so, but when it's actually being filmed and scripted, it's like, wow, this is a parallel of a different accord. But it's on the film of a movie, so you can't like say it isn't. So there's that. And then one thing that startles me is just the shot heard around the world. We're in somewhere of a lab. It's someone created bioweapons, and there's all these in Ukraine. I guess we're not supposed to know, but I heard from a bird that Canada, they've got these bio labs, colleges of Boston, Colorado, Chapel Hill, the list goes on with colleges that have bio labs, and they're doing the research where to stop a weapon, you need to create something that would diffuse the weapon. The only thing that can diffuse the weapon is something that is equally dangerous. It's Newtonian, but with like germs. And so that's why Gates assembling a germs team where we're not supposed to know about it. I heard from a bird. Actually, he said it, but politicized as ever. So it's like these moments where like, I don't want to name names, but like people who put together the like most dangerous stuff inside these quiet labs on the most minute scales, but then it just grows into this metastasize where everyone all around the world is, and the person who did it knows that, oh, this is like my just drinking ice water in the rain, shooting the breeze. When there's like these clubs and there's no target audience, it's everyone, and then you feel like you have to save the world by joining them, and it is literally the raising awareness club. Second point, when you're making figurines, like I guess there's like these toys and they're like an action figure size. This is because your hands are a certain size, so the toy is a certain size. And so that's why when there's these scalings, it's interesting to note what is less known for that reason alone. Disgusting, but you can't deny that small quietness made for all these like foghorns and red dot alerts on screens popped up. It's the scalability of. I know yesterday this made a sick thumbnail because it's a bunch of white space behind me and it's abundant and it offshoots my complexion. I'm not afforded a thumbnail. It's where the people on social media, they're always like, oh, this would make a cool thumbnail. I'm trying to not be part of a tax collector's hidden agenda. And this country has found off George Washington saying, F the taxes of the king, we're going in our own place. And so then the whole thing where they tried sticking George Washington with being a king, and he said, no, I'm president for 4 years. Later on, there was like 8 years, and that's it. And then I'm just going to go to my farmland and work off the land. And he was like well off, so he could have been a king. It's just his mindset was, this is not a place where tax collectors have any say. And then in England, they were brought tea into Boston, the Boston Tea Party, and the same thing where they tried pushing the tax with the goods, and so we threw them overboard. It's nowadays what a tax could mean within the medical industry as a horse of a different color and an elephant in the room. And so that's how important it is not to get sick. Because when you're sick, you're a danger. But no, it's for the tax collectors in the same. When you get injured in a hospital, you'll have 7 white coats fiddling around as a person with an insurance company comes up and gives you like 21 questions. And then asks you to take off your sweater with you having a broken collarbone. Can I get some assistance? No, this is literal. So if you banter enough in front of the majority of the amount of video, it'll be eclipsed where it'll have 3 slides, what would be a thumbnail that you can choose. But it's just based off I guess it's like roulette. If you buy enough tiles on a roulette wheel, you're more than likely to win a cash prize if the marble drops in your slot. The same way in vlogging, if you vlog and you're in front of a background that you want to be a thumbnail, the more time you take up in it, it's more than likely that will be one of the eclipses. There's 3 eclipses where you can pick a clip to be the thumbnail. And I hope this is it, because yesterday it was a sick one. picture right here. It's the ambiance and atmospheric cinematography. This looks like Star Trek, but it was like this fun night of the 70s night inside of a bowling alley. So there's more of these cosmic stuff, cosmic ice skating, you know, something I saw in the Olympics, or these things involved. It's almost as if you're making a makeshift lab, a makeshift lab, a makeshift lab.